So here I am with this box, which is a bully, and it is a devil coming in my home. And it did look like my ex-husband because he was bold. He delivered my food, and it says new crop, new class, Indian writing. Is it Indian? Estate, 1976 to 2024. 48 years old. But it is boasting, it's no coincidence. They've got the Class A, so it's Class A, box, food. So it's a class war. So they're saying, oh, we're going to give you all this produce to make you show you what you're missing. And look at all the things you're missing. So it is a political bully in my local grocery store. And they'll deny it. And normally you don't have boxes like this. You normally just have a plain cardboard box. So I don't think it's a coincidence, and they will say I'm mad for thinking so. It is a class war. There is someone else who wants to fight me, who is 40 years old, in the 40s. Someone else who is probably Indian or foreign, to say that they're not racist, but they are racist in the far-right government. And it's a new crop that they're saying that they're new in Jesus. That's what they're boasting in. Based on a political class. Here it is. Class. CLASS1. So in other words, you're not allowed to shop here because you're unemployed, you're disabled, and we hate migrants living in England. So it could be poisoned. I could expect to be poisoned next. But fortunately, I'm not poisoned. So I'm going to have to unsubscribe and not shop with them anymore. So everything that is for convenience for disabled people is destroyed or dismantled or owned by the far right government. And this is out of order because we shouldn't be forced to vote or to say I belong to the far left or I belong to the far right for my liberties and where I do my shopping. But they'll deny it, of course, and say that's not the case, and you're paranoid. No, I don't think it's a coincidence. It's an enemy, but I'm not going to think about it. I know it's an enemy who has delivered my food, and it hasn't been poisoned this time, but next time it could be. So I cannot, as a disabled person claiming state benefits, not even trust any shop, my local shop or any shop on the internet. And this is the result of using social media. Again, people will deny it. They'll say, oh, it's nothing to do with social media. It's nothing to do with it. And it's they will make every type of excuse, as the devil does, which is not legitimate. It is based on a lie. And so I don't have anything about bold men in general. However, he had a very striking similarity to my ex-husband. It was a look-alike. It didn't frighten me. It just made me uncomfortable. And it's the same individual who had said to me that I was shopping too much. Maybe I should shop a little bit less. And I confronted the individual about that and said, it doesn't sound professional. You shouldn't advise me on how much money I should spend on food, as it's as a medicine for disabled people. So they spat at me as a type of a venomous snake. And they know my location, they know which shops I shop at. And it's extreme discrimination, it is extreme social and domestic terrorist activity going on. I've just spilt water on me again, I just have a habit of doing that. So on a weekend, I've had a very rough week. and the week before, trying to put my things in perspective and in order. And I can't seem to do that because they have already stolen my channels. And they'll deny it. They'll say, oh, we haven't stolen your channels. You're the one who is naked. You're the one who is not protected. You're the one who has been flashing pictures of yourself. And so they're saying one law for the rich, another law for the poor. They're saying that the rich can have privacy, the rich can have internet protections, but the poor can't. And so they will now turn that story around and say that the rich people have had their medical records stolen, the rich people are naked. So it's constant competition without compassion, which makes it a witchcraft. And no, I was not naked. I was in my underwear. And anything that I have done, which was for my own reference, not theirs, they've stolen it. And so what they deserve is for God to say that they have had equal opportunities, they have had immunity of their crimes, they have had all types of information to earn more money off of the backs of the poor, and still they have not repented, and still they are targeting me for abuse after they have already stolen from me. And it is the worst hypocrisy because in the case of Luby and me, so this is a separate video that I hope to post on a Sunday. What I plan to do is upload it and then put a padlock on it on a Saturday and release it on a Sunday. So Luby is in her age 90s. She's also disabled. She's got all types of medical conditions. And she has noticed this class war. She said, "You were born on the rock and you will die on the rock," which was extremely hurtful because she is a servant of serpents and Satan. For forcing me to acknowledge the fact that all orphans, all outcasts, and all disabled people that are poor are destroyed. So currently, she's inside the robot arms. The robot loves Luby. And they are her servants. All monsters are her servants. All individuals in hell are her servants. Because she wants to control everything, even to the day that she vanishes and dies. So this is the case for all capitalism. It originates in past times. And if only I could teach my daughter all this information, but she doesn't care. So it's even turned my daughter evil. Gold diggers, money worshippers, they stress you out over money. And they separate people not because of their reputation, rather because of how much money they've got in the bank, which is evil capitalism. That quality is only there for the rich, not for the poor. And anyone that criticises it and say it's double dealing, it has too many job opportunities, it has too many resources, it has too many packages and medicines that they can recover when they're sick, so it makes them the worst hypocrite. And they go off with our children, they go off with our the little that I have, they go off and burst out into a brilliant light of yellow to say, oh, they've stolen my bananas. So what way can they get on my nerves and annoy me? So usually a retail would, if they deliver or you take orders over the phone, would ask you, would you like ripe bananas? Or would you like... They didn't. I got yellow bananas. I got green bananas that I am sunbathing. And it's a disrespectful copycat. Look, I'm also wearing yellow before I even noticed the box. So it's a copy. And everything that is cluttered around in my home is because the result of disservice and disrespect for the disabled. Everything is utterly destroyed as a result of this class war, including cleaning agents and other services which the far right have said it's only for the working class, it's not for the unemployed, and it's not for those that are not homeowners. And even those that are doing self-harms, such as smoking and drinking alcohol, they're not affected by this crime against humanity. They get away with it. The drug users, those who actually do self-harm and actually do child abuse. However, those that have never done child abuse, such as in my case, who have been fair and reasonable, are transfixed by a spectacle or a spot or a tiny little bit of imperfection, and either become extremely jealous and envious because that tiny little bit is better than them, or that tiny little bit had put a marker against their imperfections. So it becomes a green witch or a wizard or a monster. Or what we call a white witch who becomes a black witch, wizard and a monster. And it's an act of terrorism that has been legalized in many places around the world. So in the ancient times, we had the same problem 2,000 years ago, maybe 3,000 years ago. However, it's only gotten worse. It totally wrecks us and ruins us, not only for our free healthcare services, also everything else has collapsed. Not to be able to build my reputation, not to be able to build my YouTube channel without any political interference, not being able to have my own privacy without political interference. And they hasten the day to put God's people into hell. So I don't support or endorse the left or the right, but God told me that if I was to survive, I have to turn left. If I was going to eventually be cured from all injustices and injuries, I have to turn left. So there are horror films from the devil that says don't turn left, but from God it actually means do turn left. Even if it means that I would be injured all over again, at least I'll survive and not have to die. I'd rather be injured and spare my life or spare somebody else's life than to have death threats because I'm in the wrong class distinction. I'm unemployed. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not educated to the updated level and standards. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not thin enough. And I would probably a side woman to a relationship with a man who is in the far right government, who is a conservative, either for the modern conservative or to the other type of conservatism, which is pragmatic, more traditional. And they lie. The modern says that they are modern, but in fact they're traditional. And traditional says they're traditional, when in fact they're modern. So can people guess which side would I choose if I had to choose a far right? It would obviously be the modern that is actually traditional, that is anti-Rishi Sunak. But I could not completely endorse this particular candidate, who is a modern, that is a mask for a traditional, in England, United Kingdom. Because if I do that, another truth is revealed, and that is, they will say I'm in the wrong class. I don't have the intelligence, I don't have the influence, and neither do I have anything that is equal to them. This is why, so who is making the unfair and unequal society? Based on our money and our physical wellness. So we have to look even closer at this subject, because it affects the world and all nations, not only England. Too many people are disappearing because of injustice, vanishing because of some type of a shadow government which is underneath, stripped away of our human rights, trembling in fear and anticipation that they're going to be injured or killed because of the advancing enemy, who is forcing people to work too hard and be underpaid, or they're forcing immense problems for the sick people so that they're sick too long, they don't have enough money and they don't have enough correct medication and correct treatment and correct diagnosis. So even if I'm softly spoken and quietly spoken, there is this sense of unstoppability, of a Borg monster, who my ex-husband was, at a terrible view, who is far away at a distance, that can suddenly be in your face, straight looking at you. Too close for comfort, too fast. Again, this is the viciousness of a hostile environment that are looking to harm all of God's people, coming from the far right government and extremism, mainly from the far right, but it's also coming from the far left, both sides. Besides the point, the far left would, on the surface, protect indigenous people. However, when money is in the question and the chance to make progress is the question, they would get in the way and nobody's safe. Because too much challenge, too much competition, not enough compassion. Through the whole cosmos, the whole universe, it is comic. It is a twisted and warped sense of humour to say that the leftists are behaving as cannibals, they would eat you alive. And the far, what do we call them to the leftists? Do we call them wolves in sheep's clothing? As for the right, they are what we call skinwalker monsters. what we call the living dead monsters, the zombies and the cannibals and vampires. There's also vampires in the left. So it is a horror. Is there anybody else that can pop out of the jackbox that is saying, here I am, I'm here to help, I'm here to serve God, I'm not taking sides of the left or the right government, here I am, I'm going to serve God, I'm not going to be a threat, I'm only going to use force or use weapons in case of self-defense. But it doesn't work like that, because unfortunately many had ended up in prison for doing self-defense. So they would even punish the charities such as the Samaritans for supporting me. And anybody else who is at a rural place who needed someone to talk to. It does not mean I am lonely. It means I am human, and even I am the new creature in Christ. Not those who are the other way around. God does want to bless us materialistically and have prosperity. However, that's not the main focus of attention. Particularly because they don't dilute their alcohol with water. They don't treat one another as they like to be treated. And they grin as a Cheshire cat because they're going to jump on you and say, oh, well, what makes you so special? You're not unique. And this is the annoying thing about the left and the right. They would advance against people who are already downtrodden on and who are already physically disabled and already beaten up by the systemic abuse. So communicate this with you all, this video, in order to find quick and fast and effective resolution to the problem of hostile environments, of problem of targeting the most vulnerable of abuse, of problem of false agreements where they nod with you or shake your hand with agreement. So I have said the wolves in sheep's clothing on the left, and I have said the zombies and the cannibals on the right. The crafty calculations to say, oh, well, it's all about me and what I can have in the right, which is very wicked, and it's exasperating my stress levels to say that the enemy is saying, aha, I've got you now, you have to choose. You can't be different. You have to choose one government and the other. You have to have the tyrant to tell you what to do. You can't have your independent mind, your independent soul, your full stop in your work environment, in your own home, in your hospital, in your local shops, because no one survives alone in the world. Really? I have known plenty of cave women and cave men who have survived very well alone in the world. So it's a very serious and thoughtful subject because it affects everybody in the whole world. Politics is what causes war. Politics is what causes corruption. Everybody is dead as a result of politics. Why do we have to pay taxes to a corrupt government that lies, that cheats, and does everything negative with the letter D in a dictionary? So again, I repeat, I want another Jack in the Box that pops out of the box that says, here I am as a clown with God's sense of humour to do God's will. Because God has also sent a spirit of trickery and craftiness against them. It doesn't mean that we're lying. It doesn't mean that we're false prophets. It means that we've tricked against them. I go and subscribe to a channel on YouTube of people speaking the truth. That's what I'm doing this for. However, when I discover to my horror that secretly their lie is more important than the truth, and their lie earns them more money than the truth, it then becomes an excitable type of a cocktail of a dead carcass or limb whirling around in the toilet that has been flushed, or these whirling around, these like prawns in a pot, or meat in the pot. It's only a bit of meat, so when we focus on the flesh rather than on the spirit, it becomes a godless nation. So yes, we are different. And I will never change my mind, because I'm guided by the Holy Spirit. God said, turn left. And the devil says, don't turn left. Don't take away my people, says the devil. In the horror films. And I just tell it to shut up. Because not all people and creatures and animals belong to the devil. So I don't have time or energy to waste in speaking about the truth when no one cares about the truth. It is only the few people that care about the truth that will follow the Holy Spirit's guidance. Because God is a true democracy. God is a true diversity and acceptance of our various cultures that are traditional and fair, that are against crime. That's what I'm calling people over. The devil is calling them, the devil's people, to be in control of God's people in the left government and in the right government. How much, what opportunity do I have to become diseased in my old age, having osteoporosis because I'm not drinking enough milk and eating enough cheese? Nonsense. What chance do I have in getting pregnant again because I have very not fertile much, I've been sterilized? Nonsense. God can make miracles in my belly, in my womb, and in my body. So they wink and say, oh, well, we're going to make you sick because, again, they're selling sickness. And others are just blinking in disbelief when they are told that COVID is not man-made. The pandemic of COVID was natural. And they're mystified, blink, 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 following everybody because everybody says so. When in fact, there is a knife on their throat and they don't even realize. It's not that simple. It's very complicated, but people are utterly mystified by COVID pandemic. And it is disgusting that certain people who've had COVID can go to the restaurant and eat their food and burp and fart. However, people such as me who has never had COVID disease or never had any symptoms, rather than be rewarded for the fact that I make the least pollution, rather than be rewarded that I have kept myself away so that I didn't cause any sneezing or coughing in anyone's face during the pandemic, I'm not rewarded for that. I'm being targeted by death threats and all type of threats because of the decision I have to make whether I go left or right. God told me go left. And the devil is afraid of God, and the devil said don't go left in the horror films. So I have gone left, I have obeyed God and had gone left. Even if all my exes are there. Typical that. Haunted exes. What? Did I have only 3? Didn't have sex with them. So we cannot have rest. We have to be shattered to bits and pieces, back to the stump, be stumped all over again. Because not only is the AI taking over the world, they're even making an army of robots in the far right. It's going to rip you into bits and pieces according to God's knowledge and according to the devil's knowledge. God already knows what they're going to do in the future. They're going to violate people who are not fit. They're going to either explode or implode. And it's going to be a horrendous and continuous eruption like a volcano, ripping your body into bits and pieces across the land with their weapons of mass destruction. So to be able to identify who the enemy is important and the most mature thing anyone can do, but not just anyone, particularly God's people. But people that are clumping in their fists and keeping their mouth shut and suffer in silence, do not suffer in silence for too long. Because every vegetation would be destroyed and fruits destroyed as a result of threat of World War III and all types of weapons of massive destruction. The sound of warplanes and warships, the echoes of screams on the road, because of the ineffectiveness of politics. So people have to roll up their sleeves and get back to work to fight the fierce battle between good and evil. Because this is it's happening now and it's going to happen in the future. They will do anything to save this monstrosity, to remove normality. Same as a stormy ocean or a stormy sky. War is horrific. And God says if you don't destroy it, if you don't take it down by death, it will destroy you. So it's still unfinished. It's still unfinished. Unfinished in every sense. This war that has started in Israel, I'll probably title this video part 2 of my part 1, the judgments of God. What's going on in Israel and what's going on in Ukraine in 2024 is in fact what they want, these monsters, to do to the entire world and all the nations and crush us by weapons of mass destruction. And only they, who are the rich class, would survive in bunkers so that they're saved and have a new world all over again. And so if that's the case, that God said the end of the world had come with the flood of Noah, the devil is doing a disrespectful copycat, and the devil too will want to have the humanity be washed away by a flood, not by fire. Because it's the devil with a small g doing a disrespectful copycat. So we have the waters in the sky, we also have the waters in the ocean. And they would find a gap or a loopway to attack the sun, attack the weather, and do illegal activities. I've noticed that the sun is being very bright, and it's not normally this bright. So they're doing something which is obviously illegal to attack the sun and the sea in the sky and it is there to destroy the entire human race, and only they would possibly survive in their bunkers underground. They're not making any noise. They're being very quiet about it. Shh. When in fact it is a plan in the far-right government to say that no one can, resistance is futile, which is the Borg. Only they would survive as the false good guys. Which is totally creepy. It's alienating humanity. It's an alien. Not only is it a monstrosity, it is an alien because it's a clone of some type. It's a type of an artificial intelligence. Very suspicious Frankenstein government. And not everyone's even alerted to it. No one's even preparing their children and their grandchildren for their future, when it's already been predestined and pre-planned by the far-right government. And I had no idea. So our cosmos is our home, our universe is our home, and our happiness with God's presence in every type of adventure and every type of Holy Spirit. Adventure does not only belong to the devil. Happiness does not only belong to the devil. The universe does not only belong to the devil. Neither does our planet Earth only belong to the devil. So I'm feeling very sick of worrying of what they're doing in the skies, in the sea, because the sun has like a natural protective ozone layer that it isn't so bright. And yet I've noticed since the eclipse and since the warning that there has been, that they're meddling and they're doing something with their weapons of massive destruction to attack the sky and attack the sea. Shh. And say peace and safety, and then sudden destruction will come. Just like Jesus had said. They will say peace, peace and safety. We've accomplished. We're excited. Extremists are always the false good guys, and you can be familiar to us. We are bigger than life, which is bullshit, elephant shit, to say that they're the most powerful because they have the most weapons in the world, and people will pay taxes to them who are actually destroying our planet. Why are they destroying the snowy woods? Why are they destroying the Antarctica and other places, which they have said we have to be very careful, we're not allowed to travel there, because they're doing something inexplicable to their plan of the future to destroy the masses of humanity and get away with it, escape. So that's what I have realised, and that's my part 2 in this video. I give myself a nice little head massage. And so hopefully more people than ever would have their heads examined and think this through, to say they can't be the only ones that survive after I've realised this. Who should they grant access to the world, that we have to live at the edge of the existence? Who should live and who should die? That's what they have to decide. To grant you your life as a God with a small g. Only if you do exactly as I tell you. As a tyrant who doesn't liberate people, but actually forces people into a landscape or into some type of spaceship or some type of a bunker to suck out every life-given source, light, love. It's exactly what they've done to me and my daughter. They've exhausted us. They've brainwashed her. They forced her to do exactly as they told her. They frightened her. What happens next is that she becomes the child of the devil. So in the dense woodland area, for example, you can't see the tree, one tree for the trees. They all look the same. Again, the same principle as to what the corrupt government is doing is that they're all in it together. Even if they sound different, even if they sound like they disagree with each other, they're in fact the same when it comes to the far-right government. Wink, wink. Their goal is to annihilate, eliminate Agenda 21 and to say that resistance is futile, the Borg monster. And they can change everything overnight, change all the laws, change all the human rights, and everything that God has put in the place to be an area, a district. It doesn't matter where you live across the country. But this monster on the rampage is a terrifying enemy. So the entire world is at stake. Look at the real dodo bird. It was hated because it looked ugly. And yet it had mysterious and amazing powers that it can stay alive. And so they've made exhibitions, they've made legal pronunciations to say that we cannot advise anybody without legal rights. On the job, on privacy, on neighbourhood matters and housing matters. Because if you do, you will be endangered and you will be a skeleton to go in the museum next. We'll be collecting your bone next. Because you haven't entered into our spaceship, into our war bunker, and you are extinct like the dodo bird, or you are going to no longer exist, eliminated by social and ethnic cleansing that eventually becomes genocide. This is how the devil gets even with God, with a capital G, Creator, versus those who are with a small g. So their appearance from the surface in the far-right extremism, nearly all of them, maybe only 2% is genuine out of 100%. They're all guilty. So on the surface, they are coming across, drifting like polystyrene that you can't sink. And they're saying that they're going to desert and neglect and abandon humanity. They come across very slow and methodical. But in fact, they're bullshitters, shitting on everybody and destroying everything. How can you survive this? It's worse than a large-scale disaster, because it has appeased these bullies, these tyrant bullies. It has appeased them and said that they can do whatever they want in the country, in the city, wherever they go. So it is stretching, it is traveling, it is constantly making their own destruction and traumatized by that, and they're making destruction of everybody in a city or countryside. And this is the cruelty and the mercilessness of them in their hearts. As for their minds, they are forever the living dead zombies. It's a me or me too society or me, only about me. So these are the ones that are paying money to make some type of paper. Maybe they should make paper skeletons, seriously, in the sidewalks or on the pedestrian footpath, to warn us with paper skeleton advertisements that, in fact, any ancient people or any ancient place is going to be destroyed and we're all going to become as paper skeletons, which is extremely creepy and nightmarish. They can prowl on the street as criminals and these living dead zombies and cannibals and vampires, and complain that we're too happy, God's people are too happy, and complain that God's people are not allowed to be happy. Happiness has to come to an end. So no matter how beautiful their smile is, they're deceivers as some type of snakes in the right government, and as for the lefties, they're the wolves in sheep's clothing. So both sides are dangerous. Both sides can make you be homeless forever. Both sides can make you have a sense of wilderness forever. Both sides are going to point fingers at God's people in the middle and say it's all your fault forever. It's all your fault. And that we will abandon you and neglect you while we pop into our spaceships as big bullies or little bullies. And we'll say a goodbye to you, who's nobody. And that's what happened to the native people and the indigenous people. They were suddenly wiped out by those who had more weapons, who were masters of deception, snakes in the right, and wolves. Bad wolves, not the good wolves. Bad snakes, not the good snakes. So the snakes on the left and the wolves on the snakes on the right and the wolves on the left. So we're in an even greater danger every new year. The police public feel that they cannot be trusted. Doctors we feel we cannot trust. Even our shops we cannot trust as a result of the class distinction. And it's not something that I could say, this is interesting how democracy and our liberty is being destroyed. That there's a hidden monster inside of each and every one of us as sinners. But not the case for those who are having a relationship with God. We're not monsters. Once free from sin, we are free indeed, forever. So all my photographs, all my tools that I have backed up, my channels which they have exclusively targeted for abuse, to steal it and say it's not mine, and that I'm nobody special. These are demons. And they've only put the volume up and called them aliens. They've changed the word. It's only a word, but it means the same thing. Some people call them aliens, some people call them monsters who are advanced Satanists who worship Satan. So we have the battle all over again, this terrifying enemies that has been around from the beginning of time in our ancient world. As giant monsters or little mini monsters. So as a result, I had to describe from anybody and everybody that is claiming to be a conservative, a diplomat, Democrat, that is paying taxes. I'm very close to unsubscribing from people who are paying taxes and calling themselves Christians. Very close to unsubscribing from them too, that are not protected by the blood of Jesus. And a lot of them are baby Christians or baby spiritual basic in every religion. Not only Christianity, there's Buddhists, there's there's all types of religious out there who are basic babies. And so they haven't learned to rely on God spiritually for everything. I can't rely on my neighbour on anything. I can't rely on my daughter on anything. But I can rely on God for my basic human rights. Once that is destroyed, then we're all going to suffer in the same way that I'm suffering. And we're all going back to Stone Ages. We all have to live underground like animals do. And even the soil will be so dirtied you can't touch it as a result of nuclear or biological weapons. So I am very, very worried about the future for the future. For people who claim, first of all, to respect and love God. But I couldn't care less for people that don't. May they disappear and vanish forever. I'm Maria Marina. Mima is my new name. It's April. April for Apple. 2024.